Okay, guys, we're doing something weird again today. You guys know me; I like my weird stuff. 2 3/4 inch 10 gauge. Um, it's got a 12 gauge hole in it now. That's just so I can show you this is actually a 2 3/4 inch 10 gauge hole, and just so I can do this. Yeah. Okay. Line them up here. There you go. 2 3/4 inch 10 gauge. Now, this hole was, I don't know how many times it's been fired, at least twice. I got it as a once fired hole. This is a Winchester dry lock. Don't know when they're from, but they're recent holes, in the last 10 years anyway. Winchester 209 primer is what was in it. Not sure what load was in it. It's probably a 2-ounce target load. I call 2 ounces in a 10 gauge a target load because, well, 2 ounces is pretty light in a 10 gauge for me. You guys know I like 3-ounce loads. So let's go ahead and deprime and resize that. Mech 10 gauge resizer ring. PVC pipe, 1.5 inch long, 4/5 inch diameter. Make sure I don't crush the hole. There we go. Awesome. Fully resized. I forgot to put the primer in there. We're going back with a Shadot primer. That's weird. Explain to me how that happened. I'd have no idea. That's okay. We'll just knock it back out. Probably should have used the PVC pipe for that, but that's okay. I just realized how that happened. The PVC pipe doesn't let the depriming punch reach the primer, so that's what happened there. The primer never came out. It's out now. That's pretty funny. There we go. Shadot primer. Okay, grains. This is gonna be a 1.5 ounce payload. There's my long shot. Long shot. 31 grains. I would use 29 grains if it was a 12 gauge. But since this is 10 gauge, we're going to 31 grains. Because it's just a little bit bigger. Double check it. Yep, 31 grains. X10X gas seal. It's symmetrical. You can load it either way, up or down. Does not matter. Make sure it's all the way down. Yep, it just clicked into place. CB 1138 wad. You don't have to pinch this out because we have a gas seal in there, but I'm going to anyway. Just taking pliers. You guys have seen me do this a million times by now, but if you haven't, take your pliers and pinch out the gas seal. That one's pinched out enough to work in 10 gauge. You can see how flared out that is. If you're using this wad in straight wall 12 gauge shells like Fiocchi's and Shadots, that's what you need to do, but don't pitch it out quite that much. It's just so these holes have a better seal in straight wall holes in 12 gauge. But see how tight this is? Listen. That's a tight seal. This load's going to be with double aught buck. 12 pellets. Let me get this set over to ounces. I don't need to weigh this out, but I just want to know what the total lead payload weight is for this load. Should be 1.45, 1.44. Was not counting my pellets. These will stack by 3s in this haul with this wad, but I'm not going for that. I'm just going stack by 2s. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 pellets. We're going to be using the mix number 47 buffer, if I can get it out of this dresser drawer. Mix number 47. It's 2 dipperfuls. Looks like I might need a little bit more. Looks perfect. Ready to roll crimp? Three-quarter-inch bingo chip for the overshot card. And ready to roll. Ballistic Products 10-gauge roll crimping tool. Looking good. Maybe a little bit more. Looking good. Really nice looking roll crimp. Again, this is a 2 3/4 inch 10-gauge. Ounce and a half. It's probably perfect for the 2 3/4 inch shell. You can load 2 ounces in the 2 7/8 inch shell, which is the old 10-gauge standard, if you didn't know. I have actually loaded a bunch of those, but 2 3/4 inch 10-gauge is not something I've loaded a lot of, but I've loaded a few. Usually I go with ounce and a quarter in the 2 3/4 inch or 2 7/8 inch because, again, that's what the classic 10-gauge was way back in the day. 2 7/8 inch, ounce and a quarter shot. Now, as time went on, it got up into the ounce and a half range and even on. But 2 3/4 inch shell, ounce and a half load. That's what I do in 12 gauges, ounce and a half, 2 3/4. Same in 10 gauge. Now, we will be doing a 2 3/4 and 2 7/8 inch 10 gauge buckshot test video coming up pretty soon. Probably today's May 27th. We're probably going out Monday, this coming up Monday from the date I just said, to test out some 10 gauge stuff and maybe some 16. I just got a new 10 gauge. It's not going to fit on frame, but some of you guys might know what this one is. It's not an old gun. This is a brand new Browning BPS 10 28-inch barrel. It's got a full choke in it, but it also comes with a modified and improved cylinder. This gun is quite hefty. It's close to 10 pounds. I think it's 9.6 if I remember right. Could be wrong about that, but this gun is cool because it's bottom eject. It kicks the shells out the bottom. I'll show you here. Do I have an empty shell? Yeah. Okay. Now, if you rack that open real hard, it kicks those shells out really, really far. I've actually seen one guy, I think he's part of the Gold Brothers. They're competition shooters. He had a BPS 12 and he was shooting the shells. He was shooting the gun upside down like this, racking the hulls out like that, and then shooting the hulls out of the sky as he racked them out of the gun. And I thought that was really, really cool. I may actually end up trying it with this gun. I'm certainly not going to do it with Magnum loads. Probably ounce and a quarter loads will be fine. But that's just something I want to try to do with this because when I seen that, I thought it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. This gun holds 4+1 with 3.5 inch shells and 3 inch shells. Holds 5+1 with 2 3/4. Not sure about 2.5. And I'm actually curious to see if this gun will run mini shells. You may have heard me mention in a previous video, mini shells in a 10 gauge would be cool. Now, my friend Zach also has this gun. I actually got it for him a couple years ago. He paid me back, of course, obviously, but his gun will actually run 12 gauge shells like it's no problem. You can put them in the mag tube, pump it, shoot them, no problem. Kicks the hulls out great. My gun, however, you can load one 12 gauge shell, but the second one, as you can see, no dice. It even kicks the first one back out. Now, you can shoot 12 gauge and a 10 gauge, although I shouldn't be telling you can do that because, as everyone knows, you shouldn't shoot ammo in a shotgun or any gun that it's not made for. But from what I was reading and what I've heard back in the day, 10 gauge shooters used to borrow 12 gauge ammo from their friends whenever they ran out of ammo. That's pretty funny. The shell, the brass expands a little bit when you fire it. It fire forms to the chamber. And from what I was reading, that's actually a safe thing to do with 12 to 10 gauge, because 12 gauge shell is just a little bit smaller and it's way too big to ever go down into the chamber. It always sits barely, it sits in the rim, like the recess where the rim of the shell goes for the 10 gauge. It sits right in that, and the extractor still grabs it just fine. It only blows out the brass a little bit. In fact, you can reload the shell sometimes after you fire the 12 gauge shells in a 10 gauge. But I wouldn't recommend doing it, but I've done it quite a bit. Usually you can't reload the hulls, but I have gotten to get it to work a few times. But yeah, just want to show you my new gun, talk about it a little bit. Some cool things you can do with the 10 gauge. Do plan on running some 3-ounce loads out of this thing. It's almost as long as my 36-inch barrel H&R, but it's about that much shorter, and it's almost as heavy too. The only thing I don't like about this gun is, maybe I can show you here, the length of pull. Not necessarily the length of pull, but how far out your left hand goes to support the muzzle end of the gun. Also to, do that right there. It's so far out there. Like, I'm already getting fatigued just holding this gun out, just for the few seconds I've held it. It's such a stretch for me. I'm 5'8". This gun was made for probably someone Josh's size. He's about 6'1". But even he was having trouble with the how far out you have to reach this thing. It's quite ridiculous, but it has to be that way because one, it's 3.5-inch chamber obviously, and another, it's bottom eject. The cool bottom eject feature is also a hindrance. You notice the cutaway right here? Well, that's why that's there. The hulls have to clear it somehow. But on the 835, it's also a 3.5-inch chamber, but in 12 gauge, the stretch for your left hand for the pump, it's fine. It's not far at all. In fact, it's pretty comfortable. This gun is pretty uncomfortable, but I don't care at all. I don't mind it. I'm just happy to have a 10 gauge pump finally. I don't have the money for a semi-auto yet, but maybe someday. SP10 would be cool, or Ithaca Mag 10, Browning Gold 10. Love that gun. I've handled a few, but never fired any. Those Gold 10s are a lot lighter than this, and a lot easier to handle. This thing also does have a built-in recoil pad. It's pretty soft. Not exactly sure how much that's going to help with recoil, but hopefully some. Although I don't mind recoil. I actually self-proclaimed recoil junkie. Yeah. But thank you guys for watching. Tune in to the next one. We'll be doing some more with the 10 gauge. A lot more actually. 10 gauge is awesome. But thank you guys for watching. Tune in to the next one.